Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to geographic, and this is when animals lose their biggest fear by channel geographic. Yes, I'm the geographic video. Okay, I guess it's gonna be about different animals going ape shit about things. I guess the natural fears they're gonna overcome or something. I guess this sets a trend. He just made a video about the aura, like that energy type video before this, and now this one, right? I like how Casual Geographic tells a story video by video. At least you can see a pattern, which is awesome. So let's watch it.
Remember, if you think the government won't, they absolutely will. You remember that time the CIA tried to weaponize otters? To be fair, they tried it with a lot.
By the way, that was such a power snatch. That would have like give you some kind of like a neck, like at least some kind of damage, right? If not damage, at least your neck will be sore after that.
Of animals, and when Central Intelligence initiated a program to basically turn animals into spies, otters were seen as the most qualified. And they're not wrong. Pretty privilege aside, it's a highly intelligent, tube-shaped, tool-using, brush-stroking honey badger that is every bit the predator. Someone said, give him a fedora, he could do a lot for you. Let's make otter agents, which led to the creation of the Otter Dossier. Side note, whatever they were planning apparently has something to do with MK Ultra. If you think they won't, the dossier highlights some otter flexes like being able to dive 60 feet and stay under more than 5 minutes, carry objects while swimming, and climb ladders. They also found that the aggressive slinky can open zippers, turn on water taps, discreetly enter and exit boats, and even chew through a zinc sheet. I don't know how they found that. At one point they say, never take food from an otter or suffer severe mauling, and I just know the cost of that knowledge was some poor intern's fingers. There's some cool stuff too, like otters being ticklish at the ribs or babies having to be taught not to be afraid of water. You should definitely check it out for yourself. But there was one line that stood out, and it read like a prophecy. Capable of being trained and becomes devoted to humans, which can lead to their destruction. Whose destruction, you ask? Yes. This is the face of a threat to national security and a fugitive of the justice system. I'm not even kidding, but to get why this is an otter menace, we gotta go back to 2016. It's always 2016. A young female otter was found abandoned and orphaned and was rescued and rehabilitated by Monterey Bay Aquarium, and in 2017, Otter 723 was released back into the wilds of Santa Cruz. Researchers then got reports of a rogue otter swimming up to boats and kayaks, and sure enough, yeah, it was Lady 723. Apparently she'd been getting fish and squid handouts from local animal lovers, not realizing that being friendly with humans now meant the freeloading seafarer would never be fit for the wild, and she was captured and deemed unreleasable. But not before they realized 723 was getting attention from more than just people cut.
How many stories like this gonna exist where we humans like mess with other animals' ecosystem and just like, yeah, fuck all. Like, pigeons are like great example of that, right? We domesticated pigeons because of like messaging service and this and that, and they're just like, fuck it, like go away. Even today, like I see people feeding pigeons left and right, and like not really thinking like, okay, if we are doing this, like we better do this like a long term now. Because if you do that and suddenly stop, pigeons are basically screwed, right? Pigeons know how to hunt for food. But if you just feed them constantly, they're going to stop doing that. And then you stop feeding them, they're going to be hungry. Like that's insane, right? Don't mess with animals' ecosystem if you're not going to like pet them or like domesticate them in some way, right? That's the shit. It's like, staying on two boats type of way. Like make up your damn mind. Like you're actually hurting animal.
She was pregnant. And they weren't about to make the same mistake with her daughter, and would often wear masks and ponchos, looking like they just raided Darth Vader's closet, all to make certain that she wouldn't get attached to humans. She got attached to humans. And a year after Daughter 841 was released, Monterey Bay started getting calls of a surfboard jacking otter. That's right, the same otter they tried so hard to keep away from humans was now going up to humans, and when I say board jacking, it's exactly what it sounds like, and before you think she's playing, that's not a bite of play, that's a bite of purpose. Remember the zinc sheet. So after multiple calls of people sacrificing their boards to this water weasel, officials decided to capture her, but fun fact, an animal recruiter for the CIA is harder to catch than a cold in the Kalahari. They tried to relocate her for months, but every time outlaw otter slipped away. She was on the run and swim, but she would have one more plot twist for everyone. Because after being MIA for a minute, 841 was spotted again, but this time with a pup. And because of that, officials gave up on trying to catch her and instead just tried to monitor the mother. Meaning, the board beef has been renewed for at least another generation. Jokes aside, this is a problem because the second she bites someone, 841's becoming a forever 404. And otter jaws are built to humble clams and sea urchins, so it probably wouldn't feel good to get clamped by one. Or 8. Last September, a woman was jogging through Tanjung Aru Park in Sabah, Malaysia, when she was jumped by a pack of river otters. Keep in mind, these are the same assault sausages that can game over a gator. Maria Cela Harun was mauled for 10 minutes straight in what was the park's first known otter attack. She was taken to the hospital with wounds, cuts, and like a certain CIA agent, a lifelong distrust of otters. The director of wildlife said that the otters had always been around and were never known to be aggressive, but he also said something interesting that I almost missed, that this sudden switch up could be caused by the ill-intentioned goodwill of people. But that was all the way in Malaysia. You don't really have to worry about that over here. The same month, a river otter mauled a child and even dragged him underwater, except this time, it was in Seattle. Now, not to victim blame, but if there's infinite realities, then there's at least one where little Timmy had it coming. Who's to say these stories aren't just media plants from anti-otter propaganda? Maybe the otter's not being fairly represented. I'm not trying to spread misinformation, that'd be an otter travesty, which is why I'm working with Ground News. Ground News...
Yeah, regardless what it is, if human child is at stake, like... See, it's like... We can talk about fairness all the time, but in the end of the day, regardless of fairness, you need to set your priorities straight, right? Humans are more important than anyone else because we are humans. At that point, you're basically a traitor. If you say like human child is not important compared to something else, what are you, traitor to your own species? This is weird. But in the end of the day, blame comes from like, that should never happen in the first place. It's people's fucking fault to feed them and like, just basically ruin their whole ecosystem, right? That's the shitty thing. This happens a lot and it just pisses me off every time I see it. Like, animals don't know. Animals don't know what the whole behavior is. Animal acts the way they act. And the fucked up thing is, as soon as an animal bites someone, like he said, like 404, basically it's gonna get put down. That's fucked up. What? Too many stories about like any animals like biting someone like got put down or something, right? All the like different type of apes and things also got put down. They don't know what's happening. You throw them in the zoo, then you want them to act according to your norms and things. They don't know, right? This is like, it's fucked up. In the end of the day, like, if it's dangerous to humans type of shit, but still, like, it's your fault to make them be in the situation in the first place, right? It's always humans' fault.
This is an app and website created by a former NASA engineer who saw a very real problem with the way we consume information and how heavily it shapes our worldviews. She said, "I'll do it myself," and created a simple way to compare different perspectives and come to your own conclusion. Every day, Ground News collects thousands of articles from around the world and organizes them by story, so you can see how many outlets have covered a story, how factual they usually are, who owns the source, and you even get an overall bias distribution. I really like that part because it's easy to feel like everything has some kind of agenda. Like even the things you wouldn't think of as political are somehow political. Like wolves. Wolves are highly political animals and not just Blitzer. Obviously because of the whole wolf rancher beef. Well, here you can see that Colorado's looking to relocate a wolf pack blamed for livestock attacks was reported by 22 news outlets, with most of the reporting coming from the left. The left headlines seem to focus on current efforts to recapture the wolves, while the right headlines explicitly mention it's because these wolves were killing livestock. Ground News basically forces you to break out of your echo chamber and see the whole story. In fact, there's even a blind spot feature to read up on any stories one side might not have covered. Like if you only read right, you might miss that Denmark's converting 15% of farmland into forests. They're also taxing farting cows and pigs. Yeah, you know what? That is a blind spot. Ground News gives you thousands of stories all across the political spectrum to help you form your own opinion, as well as fill in the gaps you might get from only ever hearing from one end. And it's really helpful for me, since half my job involves sitting in front of a screen researching stuff. And for Black Friday, they're offering all my viewers 50% off.
How fucked it is, geographic is all about animals, and this applies to even animals, right? The fake news shit. All the like, not even fake, it's like, blind spot, like you said, like over representing one side more than the other, even in the animal life, because of global warming and things. That shit applies a lot. They want, geographic, like, what, Ground News, yeah, that makes sense.
The same Ground News Vantage subscription plan I'm using, all the features included. It's their biggest sale of the year, so go to groundnews.com/casualgeo, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to subscribe for less than $5 a month. And once you do, read up on all those articles about otter attacks, and you might notice something. 723 was raised by people, fed by people, and ultimately got too comfortable with people. Her daughter likely also got handouts from humans. And Maria Cela got jumped by an onslaught of otters in a park where people were likely already regularly feeding them. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a warmongering, waterproof Wolverine weaponizing the power of plurality. But it seems they don't really become a threat until they lose their fear of humans. You ever hear of human arrogance? Probably not, because I just made it up. Human arrogance is walking in a forest scared, whole time the forest is scared because you're in it walking. The whole they're more afraid of you than you are of them, that's real, and it's scientifically proven. Some other bears will purposely raise their kids closer to humans, knowing the best male bear repellent is proximity.
There are two elements to that. I don't think it's 100% the way it sounds. Wildlife is afraid of you because they are trying to survive. They don't take unnecessary risks. Just like a tiger wouldn't fight something that it can kill, but it's like a bigger threat. Why would it do that? That's just stupid. It's about survival. It's not a game. What is this, boxing match? In that way, they are afraid of you. Like, why fuck with it, right? But as we've seen a lot of stories where, like, like wounded tiger basically went on rampage to hunt humans because they were easy prey. They're not afraid of humans, like, oh, humans are dangerous. Like, why fuck with it type of way, right? So they know, like, you're basically weak ass and basically can fuck you up completely. Like most of the like dangerous animals, they probably know that. Even otters probably know that I can maul this one or something. But like, let's not do that. Like, if you're getting benefit, we're getting free food and all that, and just like, why mess with it type of way?
Proximity to people. Jacob and Tibu were two lions that made a record-breaking 1-mile swim through croc and hippo-filled waters. I actually talked about it in the last video. What I didn't tell you was they both could have taken the much easier land bridge across, but that would have involved coming into contact with humans, and apparently they'd rather run the aquatic gauntlet in the dark than risk a run-in with a bipedal pale ape. But, speaking of lions, it's scientifically proven that animals are more terrified of us than a literal 400-pound maned population control. In an experiment led by Professor Leanna Zanet, scientists planted hidden camera speakers near watering holes that would automatically get triggered every time an animal got close. Basically, they'd be recording different animals' reactions to the sound of lions versus people speaking the local tongue. And with lions preferring to ambush prey near watering holes, you'd expect a growl to send any creature running for the hills. Instead, 95% of the animals recorded were more afraid of the sound of humans than a stalking lion. Animals that included giraffes, impala, kudu, leopards, and even chronic lion Chutoy the hyena packed it up faster when they heard humans. The only animal that didn't was the literal biggest one alive with toenails. Even during dry season, animals typically evacuate.
That's interesting. If I were to think why would that be the case, it's like evolutionary, they are like tuned to certain like voices and noises, right? Because of the food tree, right? Whatever, like food cycle, whatever, right? So sound of lion would be like it's terrifying, but they know that, right? While humans might be like giraffes and like this might not be the smartest animal, unlike elephant. That's why elephant doesn't fall into this category. Elephant doesn't get scared like that because elephants are smarter and bigger. Like they know the difference, right? So any basic like not too smart animals, they're basically some kind of a cycle, right? Fear this predator, be in this kind of like a food cycle and things like that. While something like comes from outside, like human voice or something weird, they'll be like afraid of the unknown.
Evacuated 40% faster hearing humans compared to if it was a hypothetical predator. Because to a majority of animals, we are the predator. But to me, the craziest part of the experiment was the reveal that animals were more fearful of people just speaking than the sounds of literal gunshots and hunting dogs. Meaning it's gotten to the point where people see the mere presence of a human more threatening than the sounds of someone actually getting put on a shirt. So when an animal has zero fear of humans, something is very wrong, and it usually only has one outcome, and no one...
See, that's the thing. This is why this is my theory. This is why, because it's hearing humans' voice must be weirder compared to everything else, because like roar and like very simplistic thing, while we speak properly, right? So it might feel weird and like fear of unknown triggers, right? That's why they are afraid of that more than anything else. Because humans, animals, basically like how tiger is afraid of the lion. Why? Because lion has this like like whole mane hair, whatever it's called, right? It is a presence. So usually animals only fear in simplistic way like presence, right? So a tiger would be like a bit afraid of lion because lion looks like that, and basically that's how I play every animal kingdom. Nobody would be afraid like that of humans if they look at us. I think it's the weirdness of our sound and something. It's not like, oh, we hunt them with guns and things. They can't have that kind of complex thought. Like, wait a minute, I've seen those humans hunting other animals with guns, so they're not gonna have that kind of complex thought. Right? At least most animals are not going to have that kind of complex thought. So I think it's like weirdness of it, like hearing a voice and like outside of the like food cycle, that must be the case.
One showed that more than Freya. Freya was actually a walrus, famous for appearing in Oslo Fjord, Norway, several hundred miles south of where you'd expect a giant Arctic blubber ball. She was the first walrus in the Netherlands in 23 years, and pictures would go viral of her lounging on and sometimes sinking boats. And with her being friendly enough to approach people, the walrus would become a national and then international figure and was given her name. But you already know we can't have nice things. Freya didn't fear humans, and unfortunately the feeling was mutual, with crowds of people getting way too close to her, people trying to swim with her, and even at some point pelting stuff at her. Officials tried warning the public of, the health risks of playing with a 1,300-pound ship-retiring tusk seal, but even after Freya literally chased a woman into water,
this Justin, I can't believe how to fucking say this, but that's a big-ass walrus. It will kill you. So big. How stupid are people? They're like, oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure walrus knows what's right and not. I'm pretty sure walrus's parents told it not to hurt people. It's just like humans. Let's swim with it. How stupid are people, seriously?
Of course, nobody listened. Officials were banking on Freya leaving on her own, but she didn't, and neither did her crowd. In fact, it only got worse. So the night of August 12, 2022, 4 government officials patrolled the marina with a rifle, and by sunrise, Freya was... yeah. Now, the situation's a lot more complicated than I just made it sound, so I do recommend checking out K Passionate's video on the matter. She's a friend of the channel, she actually works with walruses, and I feel like she's a little more qualified than, internet backwards hat guy. But if you're asking what I think, man.
Again, look, man, like I said before, about the, like human children and things, like how if they're in danger, it's like it kind of, even though it's fucked up, it makes sense. Now, I'm not basically talking about like geographic, I'm talking about people in general, right? Like if somebody just like, oh, human children are like at danger, but like screw those children, like save the animal, that just like feels weird with anyone with common sense, right? So there are people you are seeing comments too, like, oh, by the way, it's not the animal's fault, but context is children at danger. Regardless of what human children are at danger, like at that point you don't have to think about much, regardless of who's at fault here, right? But the point would be that shouldn't be the case, shouldn't have come around that, right? That shouldn't have happened in the first place. It's humans' fault that happened. And sometimes I think, like, why do they just put down the animal? We have resources to like relocate and do many things. I don't get it, right? It's like, oh, it's easier. Like, yeah, many things easier. Many things we do that's not easier. Like, why do we have to put down animals? Like, I don't know, relocate it. Like, how hard can that be, right? Why do we always like, where's the rifle? And there we go. Like, why do we do that, right? And again, this is not like, I'm not talking about geographic or anyone else, right? People in general sometimes just like doesn't think about it too much and like comment basically and like talk about like that. Oh, by the way, this like, human children, but it's like children's fault. Why put the animals? So what's the point you're making? Like, screw the human children, like, like save the animal. That doesn't work ever because we are humans. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like basic things has to make sense. Then you can have complex thought over it.
Look, I want to see both sides, and I kind of do. Airdropping an aquatic animal, especially one the weight of a buffalo, especially when tranquilizing isn't even an option, is a lot harder than you think. There's a good chance to stress with a flatline Freya anyway. It would only take her bumping into a child once to turn both into a hashtag. But if you're really asking me, I don't think euthanasia should have been on the table. Anything would have been better. Like, worst comes to worst, hot take, if someone actively chooses to cozy up to a 1,000-pound half-evolved snow hippo and gets past tense in the process, you really can only charge it to Darwin. And I don't know if it's a sea puppy thing gone too far, but I do not know when people decided to stop taking seals and sea lions seriously. It's basically a rebranded beach bear. It really is like we went back to 2016 and Harambe'd ourselves all over again. And for being named after a Norse goddess, Freya got done nasty for a walrus whose only crime was trusting people. And now, all that's left of her is a statue named, fittingly, for our sins. So yeah, you probably couldn't tell, but the Freya stuff pissed me off, especially since I swear we're about to do it again. Neil is a southern elephant seal that went viral for being an adorable menace to the people of Hobart, Tasmania. Neil's lore is his mom likely got lost, and instead of having him...
Yeah, there was a guy with like fucking glasses and like tank top and just like hands in the pocket. I'm like, yeah, I think we know what's gonna happen now.
Macquarie Island with a colony of other seals. Instead, he spawned nearly 1,000 miles away on the Tasman Peninsula. Two big problems: one, this meant Neil would be hardwired to return to the same beach on Salem Bay, and two, with a distinct lack of other seals, Neil would interact with anything that moved, including people, dogs, and even cars, which meant Neil had absolutely zero fear of people. One woman even had to call out of work after Neil fell asleep in front of her car and literally sealed her in her own house. And with southern elephant seals maxing out at nearly 20 feet long and over 8,000 pounds, it's one of those things that's gonna be real cute until it isn't. And like clockwork, there's already reports of children harassing Neil, as well as people violating his space for selfies. It's gotten to the point where officials are begging the public to leave him alone, to not post him or share his whereabouts, basically gatekeeping the seal, and some of that might be on me. I literally talked about Neil earlier this year in a video with millions of views putting his name out. Now there's a chance Neil gets loved.
Yeah, man, geographic is at the point where he's gonna have effect. He's gonna real world effect like that. You must be like, oh, what the fuck, I got that point. Like, I have to be careful now.
To death by the same people he trusted. So yeah, losing the fear of people could be a death sentence for an animal, but for some species, it got them erased. The Caribbean monk seal went extinct in the 50s after being hunted into oblivion, and their biggest downfall was their distinct lack of fear and curiosity towards people. Columbus even noted how weirdly chill they were, and for that, they got slaughtered. The dodo is a plus-size pigeon in the past that also got decimated by sailors, because evolving on an island with no predators meant they had no concept of self.
There was a time where we as a species were like kind of like, colonizing and like going out. We didn't see ourselves as like a dominating force somehow. We just saw ourselves as a player in like this chessboard, right? So humans were just like eliminating animals left and right without worrying about too much. It's like a big ass Earth, big ass thing. We don't even know how big Earth is yet. So that shit was happening. And then like we kind of figured out how big Earth is. Science improved. We went to the moon, got a photo of the Earth, and we got into this mentality. Wait a minute, we are way too dominant. We literally control this planet in a way. Holy shit, we need to preserve it. So like all their environmental agencies basically came around the same time, and we went to moon, took photo, and like realized a lot of shit. Around that time, basically all that happened, and we realized, wait a minute, we need to protect this species. So if you just see like few hundred years ago how we were acting compared to now, anybody sitting right now will be thinking, oh, what a bunch of assholes! Like how could they? It's like it seems monstrous. They were a-holes, but it's not monstrous because they were thinking differently back then compared to now. But it's just like level. At least we are progressing. At least we are trying to protect species. That's good. Otherwise, because I don't know, it's just fucked up.
Self-defense. They were cooked. The great auk, which isn't a penguin, also famously had no fear of humans, and after going from 6 million in numbers to nothing in about 300 something years, yeah, we gave them every reason to. There was even an account of 2 ships murking 1,000 auks in only half an hour. And believe it or not, it's still happening. The harpy eagle's a popular target for poachers since they'll often just sit on a perch and—
Oh yeah, by the way, there's also poachers now, so it's not all kumbaya. Right, big agencies and governments are trying to like, preserve animals, but there are assholes out there still killing animals.
let them approach. Also, being big enough to be confused for a fursona means some people just shoot it out of curiosity. So yeah, animals need to be afraid of humans. But what can you do about that? Well,
Humans need to be afraid of humans. Of course, animals need to be afraid of humans.
quick pop quiz. You're being stared down by a coyote. Should you A, make yourself look bigger, B, spray him with water, C, cause an absolute fucking scene, or D, put the fear of God in Wiley? Well, if you picked any one of these, you're wrong. It's actually E. Yes, you see, in college, hazing is something that gets fraternities shut down. In the wild, hazing is scaring an animal enough to factory reset its behavior and make it want to avoid anything human. Obviously, there are exceptions, like if the coyote's hurt, sick, or with kids, then you want to fall back because they might just call your bluff. It's not to hurt them, quite the opposite. Making them prejudiced towards people is the nicest thing you could do for them. Because when you
Is this tough parenting, right? My kid has become so much like reliant on me. Sort of all the allowances, everything, but, like make him fend for himself. Obviously, keeping somewhat safety net. Make him go out to the world and like make money by himself. Cut him off, like shut down all his credit card. There you go. Make him tougher. Is that what's happening here? Okay. I guess kind of makes sense. They rely on you, so you basically show them like it's not good to rely on me. There you go.
feed a wild animal, you're almost certainly marking them for death. And sometimes it's not just theirs. Okay, let's do this one last time. Baboons in Cape Town have gotten bold enough to mug women and children, break into houses, and even commit carjackings. And the most likely reason was tourists kept feeding baboons until not only they became habituated with people, after associating humans with food, they started demanding it. And like with 841, this is the other side of forgetting the fear of humans, and baboons might not even be the worst offenders. Macaques in India have been living alongside humans for centuries, and not only do they get the benefit of easy food, the monkeys are also revered in Hinduism. But then you had the same issue of expectations leading to aggression, except the monkeys took it a step further. These monkeys are master pickpockets.
It's not about that they're revered. Too many animals are revered in Hinduism. That's how Hinduism works, I guess, right? But it's about like which area. Like this is mostly in Delhi and around that place, right? It's like regional specific. But yeah, it's an issue. It's like they've always been there. It just becomes a thing, It's not like the Indian government can do much about it. Like of course they can, right? Like we are India's at the stage like can basically do something about things, right? But it's just like, it's become a thing. It's part of our culture. Like, there are macaques around. There you go. Like, that's just fucked up.
That are smart enough to recognize items of value, snatch them, and then use them as ransom. And negotiating food is the only way you get your stuff back. The smartest ones will even give your stuff back one at a time just to maximize profit. But
it'd be a shame if something happened to your iPhone. Look at that waterfall. It looks really good. How shameful it would be if that iPhone drops into that waterfall and you can find it.
Force works too. In 2007, the mayor of Delhi was attacked by a group of monkeys and pushed off his terrace to his death. Ironically, the only thing the macaques are afraid of is an even bigger monkey called a langur, and since owning them as pets is illegal, yep, your eyes are correct. Delhi's parliament actually hired men to cosplay as giant marauding monkeys to scare the real monkeys straight. So yeah, I'll die on the hill that feeding wild animals is killing them softly, and I would know, because I did it once. When I was 10, I started feeding squirrels at a local...
I'm on that hill as well. I've said that many times in this, on this channel about pigeons and things. It's just absurd. I see people feeding pigeons left and right, and it's not even an issue if you feed pigeons and in like certain area where you just feed them. You just feed them left and right, then stop, then feed them. That's not good, man. You're just screwing them up. That's just fucked up, right? And what makes it more fucked up is like, they're making their like nests and things in like houses and like roofs and like balconies, and not really in like trees and things where they're supposed to, which is even more fucked up because like cats and other like basically animals can basically hunt them. It's too easy, right? It becomes much easier to see like dead pigeons left and right because some cat went after it or something, because like some nest was in a roof or like a balcony or something, because pigeons are just not making nests in like trees anymore. Right? It's not like there's trees or a lot of trees, but like they're not doing it because humans are feeding them. It's like, are you really helping them?
Park, and there was one in particular that really appreciated it, to the point where he'd come up to me even when I was empty-handed. I either named him Tyler or Tyrone, I genuinely don't remember. Well, one day Ty just would not stop following me. No matter where or how far I went, this rodent panhandler was on me like a homing pigeon. It was to the point where he was following me all the way home, and I wasn't allowed to have pets, and I damn sure wasn't allowed to bring pretty privileged rats off the streets, so what did I do? I took a nut, launched it, it bounced off a reservoir. I live next to a reservoir, by the way. It landed in the street, my guy Ty followed, and as you can guess, the story ended with one less squirrel. I was not okay for a while. And don't worry, I get my karma later in life when I got jumped by a pack of squirrels in the middle of New York for half a peanut butter sandwich. And yes, every word of that was true. Like an idiot, I fed one turned into...
I wouldn't go karma, right? Like, we see world as very simplistic things. Yes, it's like when we are smart and we realize that we should back off, but your intentions were never bad. So karma what? You were trying to feed a squirrel. You didn't know all this shit happens. But you got smart enough. There you go, right? It's not about karma. It's like, I don't know, like negligence at best, but no.
2 became 6, 6 spawned 12, and that is unironically the most I've ever been afraid of 12. So what's the moral here? What can be killed with hate can also be smothered by love, that animals are best appreciated from a distance, that the CIA created weapons of utter destruction? Nah. How about leave these seals the fuck alone? But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, touch grass.
Yeah, that is always leave the fuck alone. Like, why are you doing that? Just chill the fuck out, right? I don't know. I even like afraid of like domesticated dog and cats. Not afraid of dogs and cats, afraid of the situation. We better keep them domesticated, because if we don't, even that I see street dogs, right? Like I just the dogs just roaming the street, nobody caring for them. How fucked up that is. We domesticated, there is no such thing as dogs. We made them dogs from wolves. And just like, yeah, fuck off. Like, some of them are domesticated, some of them are not. That is so fucked up, right? And these animals can only live in like cities and things, because towns and cities, because they were domesticated. There is no such thing as dogs. Dogs cannot just go to jungles and provide for themselves. This is so fucked up, right? So biggest threat to any animal is humans. That's what it is. Alright, well, that was when animals lose their biggest fear of humans. By channel Geographic. If you like my content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.